Hi everyone, I'm Premraj Jayaprakash. Welcome to AI All Around. Lately, many of my friends have been asking the same question. Is this AI wave actually real? I'll be honest, I had those same concerns about our jobs and future of our careers. To get past the hype, I spent last few weeks digging deep into the data. Today I am sharing my strategic analysis of where we actually stand. $700 billion. That's roughly what the big four, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta, are collectively deploying into AI infrastructure over the next 12 months. To give you the context, that's more than the market cap of most Fortune 500 companies. And based on what we are seeing in production workloads and capacity planning, it may not be enough. Over the next 1 hour, I want to walk you through three things. One, the economic forces reshaping AI infrastructure right now. Two, why the math around compute demand broke everybody's prediction. Third, most critically, how you position yourself when things are changing rapidly under AI world. Because it's not just about corporate capex or profit. This is about how you navigate the biggest architectural shift since cloud. Before we get into numbers and architectural diagrams, I want to frame this around a question. It's the same question I've been asking my own, and it's the one keeping a lot of infrastructure leaders up at night. When the foundational stack that you have built based on your experience and specialized skills, which includes the deployment models, the tooling, the cost structure, when all that shift underneath you, what remains valuable? This is what I want to talk about in this session. Is AI replacement of your skills and experience, or use AI to amplify your expertise? Let me start with the data point from 3 weeks ago that surprised a lot of people. Google announced their capex guidance for this year, approximately 185 billion. That's nearly double what they spent last year, from about 91 billion to 185 billion in one fiscal year. The earning call itself, very solid. Revenue growth, strong cloud number, and yet the stock dropped almost 7% the next day. Why? Because Wall Street saw marginal compression. They saw free cash flow taking a hit in the short term. But what they missed is that Google doesn't have the luxury of not spending this. If they pull back now, they risk losing the position in the AI infrastructure or platform layer for the next 10 years. So the analysts are asking, is this financially prudent? Spending $185 billion for 26, is it the smart choice? Google is asking, what happens if we don't do this? Not sure if you noticed or not. In my last slide, when I said if Google pulled back its capex, they risk losing the position in platform layer. And I will be using this very frequently. Let's quickly clarify what is platform layer in AI world. Think of three layers. Bottom, infrastructure, where GPUs, vector database, model gateway resides. This is where hyperscalers are fighting with $700 billion in capex. Unless you are running a cloud provider, you are consuming this layer, not building it. Middle, platform layer. This is where it gets interesting. This is where you turn we have models into we have a usable AI capability. This is a kind of a gap between we have API keys and we have a production ready AI feature that uses the API keys. Platform is model routing, guardrails, cost control, governance, internal APIs. Your team consume AI through these opinionated platforms, not by hitting the raw models directly. Top, execution layer. Individual agents, prompts, scripts, and automation. Here is the reality. This is what AI will increasingly automate. You are writing prompts, configuring basic agents. That is exactly what AI is totally is going to take control of. Now, spoiler alert. So here is the takeaway. Infrastructure is a capital war. Execution get automated. The platform layer is where you want to be. You are not competing with AI at the task level. You are architecting how it gets deployed, governed, and used across our organization. You are solving problem once, so 10 different teams don't have to solve them again. Your value doesn't come from using AI. It comes from designing how AI get used. That's the platform layer. That's your destiny. Now, let's go back to our Google story. Analysts are asking, spending 185 billion only for 2026 is financially prudent. Google is asking, what happens if we don't do this? Google is being forced to rethink their durable value proposition as AI infrastructure cost explodes and competitive dynamics shift overnight based on AI buildouts. As an individual engineer and architect, we are facing exactly the same challenge. What is our durable value when automation can handle a growing percentage of implementation work? When scaffolding, refactoring, even system integration can be partially delegated to agentic workflows. This isn't theoretical anymore. It's happening in production right now. Let me take you back about 6 or 7 months. If you are reading the tech press, the analyst reports that posts on social media, there was a pretty consistent narrative. This is a dot-com bubble all over again. They are building way too much CPU capacity or GPU capacity. Demand won't catch up. Also, this is another disaster like 2001 fiber optics massive build out where most of the telecom companies failed to profit from fiber infrastructure. The fear was that hyperscalers were making the classic mistake, build massive infrastructure hoping demand show up later. Then something fascinating happened, and it happened fast. In a span of maybe 4 to 6 weeks, not years, the dominant narrative completely inverted. When the Cloud AI introduced bunch of plugins on February 4th, it has triggered massive software sell-off due to disruption of SaaS business models. Same day over 280 billion in market capital being totally wiped out across software, data-centric, and IT service stocks. In the next 6 days, we lost the total of 830 billion in market value. Headline change from we are in a bubble to we might actually be underbuilt. The real usage data started arriving from production deployments. Companies are not just running proof of concept chatbots anymore. They were spinning up persistent agent workflows. And here is what they discovered. When we embed the AI systems into actual business process, usage doesn't grow linearly. It compounds. Your simple query-based chatbot hits your infrastructure only once. An agent that monitors, iterates, calls external tools, loops through multiple step tasks, that is completely different compute signature. And nobody had model for that level of sustained load. So let's zoom out and look at the aggregate picture. If we add announced and projected capital expense across Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta, for AI and cloud infrastructure over the next 12 months, you are looking at somewhere in the range of 700 billion. It is comparable in scale to historic infrastructure and build-outs, like railroads in 1800 and the fiber boom of late 90s. But here is the key difference. This is not speculative infrastructure hoping for eventual demand. This is a response to workload that are already saturated current capacity. Let's be precise about what this means. This is not a bet that AI might become operationally useful at some undefined future point. This is a reaction to demand that exists today, and it's scaling faster than anyone anticipated. In my conversation with platform and capacity teams, the consistent story I hear that everyone, including the people building this infrastructure, underestimated two things. First, how capital intensive these workloads are at scale. Second, how quickly enterprise would move from experimentation to production. And the risk profile is inverted. The risk here isn't that we have overbuilt for speculative demand. The risk is that we are still underbuilding for the agent driven workflows that are ramping up faster than the infrastructure can. Now, let me show you where the industry collectively got the math wrong, including, honestly, myself. Most of the early cost model capacity forecast focused heavily on training. We training a foundation model, which is very expensive. You are talking hundreds of millions of dollars for a single training run on the largest model. But training is fundamentally a one-time capital event. You pay it once, you get your model. Inference is recurring cost. Every time someone queries that model, every API call, every agentic workflow, every production invocation, that is inference. And over the potential lifetime of a model, inference cost exceed the training cost. So here is a stat that broke a lot of financial models. Across the lifetime of the deployed model, inference accounts for 80 to 90%, sometime even more, of total compute cost. And almost no one priced in the behavioral shift from chatbot based interaction to agent based workflow, what we are seeing today. Chat interaction, user submits a query, model process it, returns a response, done. Maybe few back and forth turns, but financially or fundamentally very limited interaction. Agent interaction, long running process. It calls external API, loops through decision trees, monitors state, retries on failure. It can run for minutes, hours, or even indefinitely. For agentic AI, the compute footprint is massive, hundreds to potentially 1,000 times the resource consumption of a simple chat query or a bot. And here is where economics get counterintuitive. As per the token cost of inference drops, and it is dropping rapidly thanks to hardware improvements and better routing. What do you think happens to aggregate spending on inference? It goes up, way up. This is a classic Jeevan's paradox. When you make something cheaper and more accessible, consumption increases faster than the efficiency gain. We saw it with bandwidth in the early internet era, and now we are seeing even with the cloud compute. So let's say even though inference is getting cheaper per unit, total infrastructure demand is accelerating because usage is accelerating even faster. Now let me talk about something that doesn't get enough attention: the platform gap. I have seen pilots that work perfectly in week one. The technology is sound, the model performs, the accuracy is there. 6 to 8 months later, they are still not in production. Why? Because they are stuck navigating compliance review, security approval, data governance policies, legal risk assessment, and change control boards. The platform and governance layer is a bottleneck. So, this is where your value lies, not in building the agents, in navigating the organization, in designing workflow that satisfy compliance while still delivering the business value. So, technical skills gets you to demo or a sandbox. Platform and governance skills get you to production. So, let's connect this back to your career strategy. You need two capabilities. First, technical fluency. Understand what agents can do, their failure modes, how to architect technically sound workflow, how to debug when things go wrong. Second, organizational navigation, compliance, security boundaries, data lineage, stakeholder management, organizational politics. The unique value lies at the intersection of AI capability and enterprise reality. This is your platform position. You are not competing with AI at the task level. You are architecting how it gets deployed, governed, and used across your organization. You are solving the problems once, so 10 different teams don't have to solve them again. That's the leverage. That's the strategic value. Let me summarize what we learned so far. The big four are deploying 700 billion. That isn't speculation. It's a response to capacity that's already saturated. Inference cost dominates 80% to 90% of total spend over a model lifetime. Agentic workflow consume 100 to 1000 times more compute than simple chat-based interaction. The economic forces are clear. The infrastructure is being built. Now the question is, how do you position yourself? Or where do you position yourself? In part 2, we are going to shift from economics to strategy. We'll talk about the 18-month window which you have before standards get locked in and winners are established. We will walk you through the 4 specific skills that becomes more valuable in the AI augmented environment. And we will build your immediate action plan for the next 12 to 18 months. The infrastructure is being built. How you position yourself? We will see that in the next video. Thank you very much.